some K-drama stars didn't stop at Korea. They took their careers global, landing roles in Hollywood films, Netflix originals, and international projects. But here's the real question. Was the global jump actually successful? From streaming hits to big screen appearances, here are 17 K-drama actors who went global. And whether it really paid off. 17. Choi Woo-shik.
Hi, I'm Choi Woo-shik and I play Lee-tang, an ordinary college student who accidentally becomes a serial killer on Killer Paradox.
Choi Woo-shik is proof that when Bong Joon-ho wants you in his projects, Hollywood is already right there waiting. He's Korean-Canadian, grew up in Vancouver, then moved back to Korea to build his career. And that global sensibility quietly worked in his favor. His first real step into a Western-facing pipeline came with Okja, directed by Bong Joon-ho. With a Netflix release and a stacked Western cast, Okja placed him squarely inside Hollywood's orbit. Then Parasite happened. And no, Parasite wasn't a Hollywood film, but with its Palme d'Or win and historic Best Picture Oscar, it didn't need to be. Its credentials alone pushed Woo-shik into the global spotlight. Lately, he's been dipping his toes back into K-dramas with recent hits like Our Beloved Summer and Would You Marry Me, reminding everyone why he works so well in intimate, character-driven stories. But let's be honest, with the global resume he's built, it feels less like a reset and more like a pause. Because when you look at his track record, it's hard not to feel like another international project is only a matter of time. 16. Jeon Jong-seo.
I'm so sorry, please.
Please. Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
This is one of the most unconventional global moves we've seen from the K-drama industry in recent years. And honestly, that's what makes it so intriguing. Instead of easing into Hollywood with a cameo or a safe supporting role, Jeon Jong-seo jumped straight into an English language lead. She made her Hollywood debut with Mona Lisa and The Blood Moon, directed by Anna Lily Amirpour. The actress played Mona, a mysterious young woman with telekinetic powers who escapes from a mental institution in New Orleans and ends up on the run. Along the way, she teams up with a struggling stripper played by Kate Hudson, forming an unlikely partnership while being chased by police and criminals. It's gritty, surreal, and very much not a typical crossover project. The film premiered at Venice in 2021 and later received a US theatrical and digital release in September 2022, putting her front and center in a Western indie thriller space. Around the same time, she signed with US agency United Talent Agency under the name Rachel Jun, making it clear this wasn't a one-off experiment, but a real step into the Hollywood system. She's officially set to star in the upcoming Highlander alongside Henry Cavill, marking her second Hollywood project. According to her agency, Jeon Jong-seo will play a member of the secret organization known as the Watchers. The film is a remake of the 1986 fantasy classic and follows immortal warriors battling across centuries, all trying to eliminate one another. Filming was initially planned for this year, but was pushed to early next year due to Henry Cavill's injury. 15. Lee Joon-gi.
So excited, super excited to be here. Mila, such a pro. So many patience. She is so patient. She is so passionate.
What if one YouTube video could land you a Hollywood role? That's exactly what happened to Lee Joon-gi. He made his Hollywood debut in Resident Evil, the final chapter after director Paul W.S. Anderson personally offered him the role. No audition, no screen test. Anderson had watched just one YouTube clip of Lee Joon-gi's action scenes and was so impressed by his stunt work and screen presence that he skipped the entire casting process. Lee Joon-gi was cast as Commander Lee, an Umbrella Corp operative. And here's the twist. He almost turned it down. He was busy with another project and didn't feel ready for Hollywood yet. But Anderson kept pushing, eventually flying him out to South Africa for filming. On set, Lee Joon-gi treated the role like a fresh start, performing many of his own stunts, often without wires. Even Mila Jovovich praised his dedication, saying it felt like watching a whole new level of stunt acting. His screen time may have been brief, but being handpicked by a Hollywood director through YouTube, that's a global career flex few actors can claim. 14. Choi Soo-young.
When I first read the script, I was instantly drawn to the story.
Did anyone expect Choi Soo-young to enter Hollywood through the John Wick universe? Because that's exactly what happened. Choi Soo-young made her Hollywood debut in From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, the first ever spin-off from the mega-hit John Wick franchise. The film follows Eve, played by Ana de Armas, a ballerina raised by the Ruska Roma, the same assassin organization that trained John Wick himself, portrayed by Keanu Reeves. After her family is killed, Eve embarks on a brutal, revenge-fueled journey through the franchise's signature neon-lit underworld. In the film, Soo-young played Katla, the daughter of Il-sung, a fellow member of the Ruska Roma. Her character was protected during Eve's first field mission, placing her directly inside the story rather than as a background cameo. When Ballerina hit theaters in June 2025, fans were quick to rally behind her unexpected Hollywood move. With her natural screen presence, fluent English, and cool, controlled energy, Soo-young fits seamlessly into the franchise's gritty tone, and the online support made it clear audiences wanted to see more. 13. Kim Min-ha.
So the casting director called me to, do you want to participate in this audition? So I said, yeah, why not? And I didn't know it was Pachinko.
What if one open audition could completely change your life? That's exactly what happened to Kim Min-ha. After years of small roles and quiet cameos in Korean dramas and films, she landed young Sunja in Pachinko, her first major US production. And the role that put her on the global map? She won the part through an open casting call, and the reveal itself feels unreal. Kim Min-ha has said she thought she was going out for a normal dinner, only to find out she got the role when the casting director ordered champagne and congratulated her. From that moment on, everything changed. She approached Pachinko like a career-defining assignment, studying history, pulling emotional details from her grandmother's stories, and fully grounding Sunja as a lived-in character. The performance hit hard, earning her a Gotham Awards nomination, multiple breakout honors, and later Best Actress at the Seoul International Drama Awards for Season 2. And instead of immediately chasing more Western projects, Kim Min-ha has been carefully building her resume back in K-dramas, stacking thoughtful roles while keeping her global momentum alive. She's no longer a hidden talent, she's a rising name being watched on both Korean and international screens. 12. Jung Ho-yeon.
Shooting my death scene, I was so happy. I was most comfortable scenes I ever had.
After breaking out in Squid Game, Jung Ho-yeon skipped the slow build and went straight for prestige global projects. Her first major English language role came fast and heavy. Disclaimer: a psychological thriller directed by Oscar winner Alfonso Cuarón. Acting: alongside Cate Blanchett, Kevin Kline, and Sacha Baron Cohen, Jung Ho-yeon played Kim, a young woman tangled in secrets and deception. And she didn't stop there. She joined A24's upcoming film The Governesses, starring alongside Lily Rose Depp and Renate Reinsve in a surreal, provocative story about power, desire, and chaos. At the same time, she lined up even heavier projects, filming the survival thriller Hope with Michael Fassbender and Alicia Vikander, and the psychological horror The Hole, co-starring Theo James. It won't be too long before we see her make a high-scale Hollywood project, and we are here for it. 11. Rain.
I'm so excited. It's my first Hollywood film. I think it'll be huge. Yeah.
What if Hollywood didn't just invite you, but actually tried to turn you into their next action star? Because that's exactly what happened to Rain. Long before global streaming made crossovers normal, Hollywood gave him a real push. His Hollywood debut came with Speed Racer, directed by the Wachowskis, where he played Taejo Togokan. The film wasn't a box office smash, but it did its job. It put Rain directly on Hollywood's radar. And just 1 year later, in 2009, he wasn't supporting anymore. He became the lead in Ninja Assassin, a full studio release produced by the Wachowskis and Joel Silver. Rain trained 6 hours a day for 6 months and carried the film like a full-fledged action star. Here's the receipt people forget. In 2010, Rain won MTV's Biggest Badass Star, beating out major Hollywood names. Did it turn into a permanent Hollywood career? Not exactly, but for a moment, Rain wasn't chasing Hollywood. Hollywood was actively trying him. 10. Teo Yoo.
I'm just glad that it tells this universal story bridging gaps over cultures and ages.
Teo Yoo feels almost designed for global projects. Born in Cologne and trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, his career has always moved between Europe and Korea rather than staying in one market. That international foundation shows in the kind of roles he takes and how quickly global audiences connected with him. Many K-drama viewers first noticed him in Love to Hate You, where he played Nam Kang-ho, a prickly top actor with commitment issues. It was charming, funny, and extremely bingeable, and it made people curious about who he was. That same year, he appeared in Past Lives, delivering a quiet, emotionally restrained performance that carried the film through awards season. Past Lives earned Oscar nominations for Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay, and Teo Yoo received a BAFTA Leading Actor nomination. In 2024, he was also invited to join the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, sealing his place in the global film conversation. From Netflix rom-com lead to A24 awards contender in one career window, Teo Yoo has carved out a serious international lane. And it's only getting bigger. 9. Han Hyo-joo.
Stunt training, that's my favorite. I'm so excited. I'm big fan of Bourne series.
Han Hyo-joo's Hollywood-adjacent break-in was refreshingly straightforward. She stepped straight into a US action spy series tied to a major global franchise. In 2019, she joined Treadstone, a USA network drama created by Tim Kring and set within the Bourne universe through Operation Treadstone. And this wasn't stunt casting. Han earned the role through a formal audition process, making it a legitimate American network entry from the start. She played So-yeon Park, introduced as an ordinary woman living in North Korea, a wife and mother forced into impossible choices as dangerous truths about her identity begin to surface. Since Treadstone revolves around sleeper agents being activated by a covert program, her storyline fits naturally into the show's core concept, giving her a real character arc rather than a background role. Treadstone ultimately ran for just one season and was cancelled in May 2020, but the impact still mattered. Even with the early ending, it worked as a stepping stone, boosting her global visibility, opening doors to luxury brand ambassadorships, and keeping the possibility of future international projects very much alive. 8. Youn Yuh-jung.
My name is Yeon Jong-seo, and most of European people call me Yo-young, and some of them call me Yoo-jung. But tonight, you are all forgiven.
Youn Yuh-jung is living proof that there's no expiration date on global success. Hollywood didn't discover her. It finally caught up when she was already in her 70s. Long before that, she'd been a legend in Korea, debuting on TV in the late 1960s, breaking boundaries with Woman of Fire in 1971, and spending decades as one of the most respected, no-nonsense actresses in the industry. Her life story alone feels cinematic. She stepped away from acting in the mid-1970s, moved to the US, lived an entirely different life, and then returned years later to rebuild her career from scratch. Most people don't get one comeback. She pulled off multiple, then came Minari, the moment Hollywood finally paid attention. Youn Yuh-jung was 73 years old when Minari premiered, and 74 when she swept awards season, winning the Oscar, SAG, and BAFTA for Best Supporting Actress. Let that sink in. While most actors are long written off by the industry, she was making history. And she didn't stop after one iconic run. She stayed firmly in the global spotlight with Pachinko, followed by the 2025 remake film The Wedding Banquet, and an upcoming role in Beef set to drop in 2026. Along the way, she went viral for her blunt, hilarious awards season honesty, proving she was just as iconic off-screen as she is on-screen. 7. Claudia Kim.
I went to Universal Studios yesterday. I got to do the entire Harry Potter Wizarding World rides.
Here's a fun realization. Claudia Kim might be one of the most low-key franchise collectors to ever come out of K-dramas. You blink, check her resume, and suddenly realize she's been in Netflix, Marvel, Stephen King, and the Wizarding World. She started out the classic K-drama way, breaking through with Queen of the Game and building steady recognition in shows like Brain and 7th Grade Civil Servant. Familiar face, strong screen presence, nothing about her early career screamed global takeover. And then the international projects started stacking. First came Marco Polo, where she played Kutulun, a warrior. Princess role that gave her serious global exposure before global exposure was even the goal. Then in 2015, she quietly entered the MCU as Dr. Helen Cho in Avengers: Age of Ultron, a move that aged very well. After that, she stayed in the Hollywood lane with The Dark Tower, and then came the headline moment, Nagini in Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. That casting alone put her in the middle of global fandom conversations, debates, and press tours overnight. And that's what makes Claudia Kim's path so interesting. Just one strategic global project after another, until suddenly, her resume speaks louder than any hype ever could. 6. Park Seo-joon.
저도 제가 이 영화에 나온다는 게 굉장히 신기하거든요.
Long before the MCU, he was already a K-drama king, leading hits like Fight for My Way, What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, Itaewon Class, and Gyeongsong Creature. At that point, he didn't need global validation, but it came anyway. In 2023, Park Seo-joon made his MCU debut in The Marvels, playing Prince Yan of Aladna. His role stood out immediately because Aladna is the film's musical planet. Yes, the one where characters literally sing, and his character is directly connected to Carol Danvers during that sequence. It was unexpected, playful, and very memorable. The casting story makes it even better. Director Nia DaCosta revealed she cast Park Seo-joon after watching Itaewon Class during the pandemic. A K-drama binge led straight to an MCU role. Even Park Seo-joon admitted he didn't believe it at first when Marvel reached out. His agency later confirmed he left Korea to begin filming in 2021. After the film's release, the actor described The Marvels as his first experience on a massive Hollywood set. More structured, highly organized, and built on mutual respect. He also openly acknowledged his limited screen time, saying it didn't bother him. For him, it was about stepping into a global franchise and learning the system. 5. Lee Jung-jae.
The Force. Have faith. Think of diving into a great ocean. Give yourselves over to its weight.
Yes, Lee Jung-jae is on this list, and no, it's not just because of Squid Game. His global moment might have exploded on Netflix, but the reason he truly belongs here is what he did after. Long before the world caught up, Lee Jung-jae was already a Korean A-lister. He first became a national name in the 90s after breaking out in Sandglass, where his bodyguard role was so popular that his screen time literally expanded as the show aired. Then Netflix changed the scale. His turn as Gi-hun in Squid Game made him a worldwide face. And in 2022, he made Emmy history by winning Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series, becoming the first actor to win for a non-English language performance and the first Asian man to take the category. But instead of staying in the Squid Game actor box, he pivoted straight into Hollywood, and not with a cameo. In The Acolyte, Lee Jung-jae took on his first English-speaking role as Jedi Master Soul, leading a Star Wars series on Disney+. He trained for months in English and dialect work, studied characters like Qui-Gon Jinn for inspiration, and went through full lightsaber and fight training to ground the role. Even though the series later ended after one season, the swing itself was massive. 4. Ma Dong-seok.
Myself, actually a huge fan of Marvel, so I'm very excited.
Ma Dong-seok, also known internationally as Don Lee, is proof that you don't need to fit the traditional K-drama mold to go global. He started acting later than most, returning to South Korea around his 30s, and turned that late start into one of the most distinctive action personas in Korean cinema. For K-drama fans, his defining early TV role was Bad Guys, where he played Park Woong-cheol, brutal on the outside, deeply human underneath. Then Train to Busan introduced him to Western audiences as Sang-hwa, the tough, selfless protector who instantly became a fan favorite worldwide. That global recognition carried straight into Hollywood. In Eternals, Marvel didn't cast him as a background brawler. They cast him as Gilgamesh, the strongest Eternal. His version of Gilgamesh isn't flashy or loud. He's quiet, loyal, and devastatingly effective in combat. Marvel leaned fully into Ma Dong-seok's natural fighting style, designing Gilgamesh's action around boxing-inspired, heavyweight punches that feel grounded and brutal instead of slick or acrobatic. 3. Song Kang-ho.
Good Min-soo, security specialist.
Song Kang-ho is living proof that you don't need English fluency to go global. You just need undeniable screen presence. He's even joked in interviews about not speaking English, often relying on interpreters during international press conferences. And somehow, that never slowed him down. If anything, it made his global rise even more impressive. The clearest example came with Snowpiercer. In Bong Joon-ho's largely English-language international production, Song Kang-ho played Namgung Min-soo, a character who speaks Korean while the rest of the train operates in English. The film literally builds a translation device workaround into the story because Bong didn't want to force Song Kang-ho into English dialogue. Instead of adapting him to Hollywood, the movie adapted itself to him. Then Parasite erased the language conversation entirely. As Kim Ki-taek, Song Kang-ho became a worldwide face in a film that won the Palme d'Or and made Oscars history as the first non-English language Best Picture winner. He didn't change languages. Global audiences simply tuned in. 2. Bae Doona.
Just one possible future.
You mean exaltation?
Bae Doona is basically the original blueprint for how a K-drama actress can go global without ever abandoning Korea. Long before global crossover became trendy, she was already moving effortlessly between Korean prestige projects and Western-facing franchises, and making it look normal. For drama fans, she stayed firmly rooted at home with heavyweight roles like Stranger in Kingdom, where she played Seo Bae, the calm, brilliant doctor trying to understand the plague while everyone else panicked. Even while doing international work, she never disappeared from Korean screens. What really set her apart, though, was the global pipeline she built early. In Cloud Atlas, Bae Doona broke into English-language cinema as Sonmi 451 in the Wachowskis' ambitious, globe-spanning project. She stayed in their orbit with Jupiter Ascending, then became a full-blown global Netflix face as Sunback in Sense8. That part matters. When the same directors keep bringing you back across multiple projects, that's not luck, that's trust. And instead of choosing one market, Bae Doona never needed to rebrand as a Hollywood lifer. She stayed selective, stayed rooted, and still earned industry-level recognition, including an invitation to join the Academy in 2018. More recently, she's kept that global momentum going as Nemesis, a cyborg warrior in Netflix's Rebel Moon. 1. Lee Byung-hun.
I've been acting for more than 30 years, and I also participated in some Hollywood blockbuster project.
Have you noticed how Lee Byung-hun keeps showing up everywhere lately? Western interviews, red carpets, international, festivals? That's not a coincidence. What we're seeing now is the payoff of a Hollywood career that didn't just happen, it stuck. His real Hollywood breakthrough goes back to 2009, when he was cast as Storm Shadow in G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra. And the key detail is that he came back for the sequel. From there, he stacked real studio franchises: Red 2, Terminator Genisys as the T-1000, and The Magnificent Seven. These weren't cameos, they were visible roles with global releases. Then come the industry receipts. He became the first Korean actor to present at the Oscars, is a member of the Academy, left his hand and footprints at the TCL Chinese Theater in 2012, and was honored with a TIFF Special Tribute Award in 2025. And he's still operating at an international level. His latest film, No Other Choice, premiered in Venice Competition, was picked up by Neon and Movie, selected as South Korea's Oscar submission, and earned Golden Globe nominations, including Best Actor for Lee Byung-hun himself. So if Lee Byung-hun feels suddenly everywhere, that's not a new crossover. It's the result of years of playing the Hollywood long game and winning. And that wraps up 17 K-drama actors who took their careers global. So here's the real question. Was it actually worth it? Let me know your take in the comments, and don't forget to check out our next video on the most anticipated webtoon to K-drama adaptations coming up. You might not agree with all of them,